The slap echoed through the penthouse like a gunshot. Minute Jun stumbled backward, his hand flying to his burning cheek. Then something impossible happened. Behind his dark glasses, his eyes began to flutter. Light. Shapes. Colors. For the first time in 3 years, he could see. "I can," he gasped, his glasses falling away as he stared at the woman before him. "I can see." Amora stood frozen, her hand still raised, tears streaming down her face. She had just slapped Korea's most ruthless mafia boss. And somehow, miraculously, she had given him back his sight. But this miracle would come with a price neither of them expected. Welcome back to the channel, family. Before we dive into this incredible story of love, redemption, and the slap that changed everything, I need you to do 3 things right now. First, smash that subscribe button because we bring you the most captivating Afro-Korean romance stories you won't find anywhere else. Second, hit the like button if you're ready for a story that will have you on the edge of your seat. And third, drop a comment telling me, would you ever slap a mafia boss to save an innocent child? I'm reading all your comments. Now, let's go back to where this impossible love story began. The gunshot echoed through the marble halls of the penthouse. A man collapsed to his knees, clutching his bleeding hand, his screams piercing the cold soul night. Minute Jun sat motionless in his leather chair, dark glasses covering his sightless eyes, a glass of whiskey balanced perfectly in his hand. Please, I have a daughter. She's sick, she needs treatment, the man sobbed. Minute Jun tilted his head, listening to the pathetic sounds with detached curiosity. Your daughter's illness is not my concern. You borrowed 5 million won. You had 3 months. Where is my money? The hospital bills took everything. I just need 1 more week. Tae-young, Minute Jun interrupted, his voice cold as winter frost, break the other hand. Let him understand that time is not a luxury I provide. But Tae-young, a mountain of a man with scars crossing his face, moved forward. The sound of bones cracking made the other guards in the room flinch. Minute Jun didn't even blink. He hadn't blinked in 3 years, not since the attack that stole his sight and, some said, his humanity. Take him to the street, Minute Jun ordered. Make sure everyone in Gangnam knows what happens when you waste my time. And Tae-young, handle his family too. The daughter. Make it painful. Across the city, in a tiny apartment in Itaewon, Amora was counting the money she just received from her nursing shift. 300,000 won. She quickly converted it in her head and smiled. It was enough to send home to Lagos for her brother Chidi's school fees and still have something left for rent. Another night shift. Isabella, her Nigerian roommate, emerged from their shared bedroom, wrapping her bonnet. Girl, you go wound yourself oh. You never sleep. Amora shrugged, exhaustion evident in her eyes. I no get choice. Chidi's final year fees don't increase. Mama say the landlord day worry her too. But you're the one we suppose day live your life. You done forget wedding we run come Korea for? Fresh start, remember? Fresh start. The words tasted bitter. Amora's mind flashed to that night in Lagos, her father's blood on the compound floor, the powerful men who killed him walking free because they had money and connections. She'd become a nurse to save lives because she couldn't save his. She'd come to Seoul to escape the ghosts, but they followed her everywhere. Her phone rang. The hospital. Miss Amora? This is Director Park. We have an urgent VIP case. Private home care. The pay is triple your normal rate, but I must warn you, this client is extremely difficult. 15 nurses have quit in 3 months. Triple rate? Amora's heart jumped. That would change everything. I'll take it, she said without hesitation. The next evening, Amora stood before the massive penthouse in Gangnam, her worn nursing bag feeling inadequate against the opulence. The door opened automatically, and Tae-young's imposing figure blocked the entrance. You're the new nurse. He looked her up and down with barely disguised contempt. Yes, sir. Amora Okafor. Listen carefully. Don't ask questions. Don't touch anything unless ordered. Don't speak unless spoken to. The boss doesn't like noise, doesn't like incompetence, and definitely doesn't like people who waste his time. He led her through rooms that felt more like a luxury prison than a home. Everything was precisely placed, clinical, cold. Finally, they reached a dimly lit study where Minute Jun sat behind a desk, his back to them. Boss, The new nurse is here. Minute Jun swiveled his chair slowly. Even behind dark glasses, Amora could feel the weight of his presence. He was younger than she expected, maybe early 30s, with sharp features and an aura of controlled danger. Another one already? His voice dripped with disdain. What is it this time? Chinese? Filipino? He paused, inhaling slightly. No, different perfume. African? Amora stiffened. Nigerian, sir. I'm here to help manage your medication, Anne. I don't need help. I need competence, which seems impossible to find. He stood, navigating the room with practiced precision despite his blindness. Let me guess your story. Came to Korea for a better life. Sending money to family back home? Playing the noble martyr? Amora's jaw tightened. My personal life is not relevant to your care, Mr. Minute. Oh, she has spine, Minute Jun smiled, but it didn't reach his face. Let's see how long that lasts. Your job is simple. Bring my medication at exactly 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Don't be early. Don't be late. Don't attempt conversation. Don't touch anything in this penthouse except what's absolutely necessary. Can your African brain handle these simple instructions? The slur hit like a physical blow, but Amora had faced worse. She'd dealt with racist patients before, men who thought their money made them gods. She needed this job. Perfectly clear, sir, she managed through gritted teeth. Over the next week, Amora discovered that Minute Jun's cruelty wasn't limited to words. He would deliberately knock over his water and blame her for placing it wrong. He refused medication, then complained about pain. He made her stand for hours while he worked, forbidding her from sitting in his presence. But worse were the phone calls she overheard. Orders to collect debts by any means necessary. Approvals for beatings, for destruction of property, for ruining lives. Each conversation chipped away at her professional composure. This wasn't just a difficult patient. This was a monster. Are you still watching? Drop a comment below telling me what you would do if you were Amora. Would you stay for the money or leave? And if you're enjoying this story, smash that like button. Now, let's get to the moment that changes everything. On the 8th day, Amora arrived for the evening medication to find Minute Jun on the phone with Taeyang. I don't care about excuses, Minute Jun said coldly. You found the man who owed us, yes? And his daughter. Amora's blood froze. She remembered the man from her hospital, the one with the sick little girl who needed heart surgery. Good, Minute Jun continued. Burn their house tonight. Make sure the girl watches. I want the father to understand that his debt costs more than money. It costs everything. The medication tray slipped from Amora's trembling hands, crashing to the marble floor. Minute Jun's head snapped toward the sound. How long have you been standing there? You can't do that, Amora whispered. Excuse me? That man, his daughter, I know them from the hospital. She's 8 years old. She has a heart condition. You can't. I can't. Minute Jun stood, his voice dangerously quiet. Did you just tell me what I can and cannot do? She's a child. An innocent child. What kind of devil are you? The kind who doesn't tolerate theft or eavesdropping nurses who forget their place. His hand swept across the desk, sending papers and objects flying. You know nothing about my world, about what's required to survive, to maintain order. Order. Amora's voice rose, years of suppressed rage bubbling to the surface. You call terrorizing a sick child order? You're not maintaining anything. You're just a bully with money and power, hiding behind darkness because you're too coward to face the light. Get out. Minute Jun roared, advancing toward her voice. You're fired. Get out before I have Taeyang throw you out. You know what your problem is. Amora found herself shouting back, all professionalism abandoned. You think because you can't see, you don't have to see. You're blind, yes, but not because of your eyes. You're blind because you choose to be blind to suffering, to compassion, to the humanity in people around you. I said get out. He grabbed for her, likely to shove her toward the door, but Amora's hand moved on instinct. The slap echoed through the penthouse like a thunderclap. For 3 seconds, the world stopped. Then Minute Jun stumbled backward, his hand flying to his face. And something impossible happened. Behind his dark glasses, his eyes began to flutter. Light poured in for the first time in 3 years, sharp and painful and overwhelming. Shapes. Colors. Movement. He saw her. Amora stood there, tears streaming down her brown face, her chest heaving with emotion, her eyes filled not with fear but with a devastating mixture of anger and disappointment and something else he couldn't name. She was beautiful and terrible and so alive it hurt to look at. Then the pain hit. Blinding, searing agony as his brain struggled to process visual input after years of darkness. Minute Jun collapsed, glasses falling away, revealing eyes that were open and seeing and full of confusion. I can. He gasped, staring at his own hands like they were alien objects. I can see. Amora rushed forward instinctively, her nurse training overriding everything. Don't move. Your brain is in shock. Taeyang. Taeyang. The penthouse erupted into chaos. Taeyang burst in, saw his boss on the ground with open eyes, and froze. Within minutes, Dr. Yoon arrived, examining Minute Jun with shaking hands. This is medically improbable, the doctor muttered, shining lights into Minute Jun's responsive pupils. The damage from the attack was severe, yes, but we always suspected a psychosomatic component. Trauma-induced blindness overlaying the physical injury. But for it to reverse so suddenly, what triggered it? Taeyang demanded. Everyone's eyes turned to Amora, who stood in the corner, still trembling. She slapped him, Taeyang said slowly, pieces falling together. The African nurse slapped the boss, and now he can see. Dr. Yoon adjusted his glasses. Shock therapy, in a way. The sudden trauma, the emotional intensity, it could have broken through the psychological barrier. I've read about cases, but never seen one. Minute Jun said nothing. He was staring at Amora, truly seeing her, this woman who'd done what no one in his organization would dare. This woman who'd been crying. For him. No. Because of him. Because of what he'd become. Everyone out, he said quietly. Boss, you need. Out. When they were alone, Minute Jun struggled to his feet, his newly awakened vision swimming. Everything was too bright, too much, too overwhelming. Except her. Amora came into focus with startling clarity. You hit me, he said, the words strange and uncertain. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, I don't know what came over me. You weren't afraid. Amora lifted her chin. I was terrified. But that little girl is more important than my fear. Some things are worth the consequences. Why? The question came out raw. Why does a Nigerian nurse in Seoul care so much about strangers? And there, in that cold penthouse, Amora's walls finally cracked. Because powerful men killed my father in Lagos. They owed him money for his construction work, and instead of paying, they had him murdered. And nothing happened to them. Nothing. Because they had connections and money and power. I watched my mother scream over his body, watched the police do nothing, watched those men walk free. Her voice broke. I became a nurse because I couldn't save him. Because I needed to save someone. And I came to Korea to escape the ghosts, to start over. But I see men like you, men who use power to destroy instead of build, and I can't stay silent. I won't. Even if it costs me everything. Minute Jun felt something crack inside his chest, a sensation as shocking as regaining his sight. When was the last time someone had been honest with him? When was the last time someone had seen him as anything but a source of fear or money? I was 10, he heard himself say, when my uncle brought me into this life. My parents died drowning in debt. Uncle Kang said the only way to never be powerless was to be feared. To be ruthless. To show no mercy because the world shows none. And has it made you happy? Amora asked softly. Being feared? Minute Jun looked at his hands, seeing them clearly for the first time in years. I didn't know I had a choice. Until you showed me. The moment stretched between them, fragile and dangerous. The little girl, Amora whispered. Please. Minute Jun pulled out his phone and dialed. Taeyang. Cancel the order on the family. All of it. Because I said so. No, I'm not going soft. I'm going smart. There are better ways to handle this. Find the father a job in one of our legitimate businesses. Pay for the girl's surgery. Anonymous donation. When he hung up, Amora was staring at him with something like wonder. Why? She asked. Because maybe I'm tired of being blind. What happens next will shock you, but first, if you've made it this far, you're clearly hooked on this story. Do me a favor and hit that like button, and comment below what you think Minute Jun should do next. Should he leave the Mafia life? Can a man like him really change? Let me know your thoughts. Now, back to the story because the biggest twist is coming. Over the next 2 weeks, something impossible happened. Amora stayed, helping Minute Jun adjust to sight while managing his recovery. But it was more than medical care. In the quiet hours, they talked. Really talked. He told her about the attack 3 years ago, how his own men had turned on him, beaten him nearly to death, stolen shipments worth millions. How he'd woken up in darkness, physically and emotionally, and built his empire back through pure ruthlessness. She told him about Lagos, about her mother's strength, about her brother Chidi who wanted to be a doctor, about the guilt of leaving them behind to chase a better life. You send them money every month, Minute Jun observed one evening, watching her prepare his medication. He was still getting used to seeing, to matching faces with voices. More than half your salary. How did you? I pay attention. I always have. Now I can see it too. The worn shoes you never replace. The same lunch every day. You sacrifice everything for them. They're my family. And what about you? What about your dreams? Amora paused. No one had asked her that in years. I don't know anymore. Minute Jun stood, moving closer. His vision had sharpened over days, and now he could see every detail of her face. The exhaustion around her eyes. The strength in her jaw. The kindness she tried to hide behind professionalism. You made me see, he said quietly. Really see. Not just with my eyes. You showed me that I'd become the same kind of monster who took your father. Who takes and destroys and justifies it as business. Minute Jun. I'm going to change this. The business. No more violence. No more predatory lending. I have enough legitimate operations to transition, I just never cared enough to try. But I care now. Why now? He reached out, gently touching her face, the first face he'd truly seen in 3 years. Because I want to be someone worthy of how you looked at me. Before the disappointment. I saw it, in that first moment of sight. You expected better from me. And you were right to. Amora's breath caught. We can't. Why not? Because I'm your nurse. Because we're from different worlds. Because 2 weeks ago you were ordering people's hands broken and now you're talking about change and I don't know if it's real or if you'll wake up tomorrow and be that man again. Then stay, Minute Jun said urgently. Stay and make sure I don't. Be my conscience. My guide. The door burst open. Taeyang rushed in, his face pale. Boss, we have a problem. It's Chairman Kang. He's coming here. Now. And he knows about the changes you've been making. Minute Jun's expression hardened. My uncle. He's furious. He's saying you've gone soft, that you're compromising the organization. He's calling an emergency meeting of the family heads. Let him come. 20 minutes later, Chairman Kang swept into the penthouse like an avenging storm. He was in his 60s, silver-haired, wearing a traditional hanbok that somehow made him more intimidating. His eyes swept the room and landed on Amora with pure disgust. So it's true, he said in Korean, then switched to accented English. My nephew can see again. And the first thing he sees is this African woman, and suddenly he forgets everything I taught him. Uncle, Minute Jun stepped forward, his voice respectful but firm. Things are changing. The organization is evolving. Evolving? Kang laughed bitterly. You mean dying? You've cancelled 3 major operations. You've started paying medical bills for people who owe us money. You've gone soft, boy. Weak. Just like your father. Don't you dare speak about my father. Your father died weak and in debt. I saved you from that fate. I made you strong. And this is how you repay me. By letting some foreign nurse seduce you into. She saved my sight, Minute Jun interrupted. She showed me. She showed you nothing. I'll tell you what she showed. Weakness. And weakness in our world is death. Kang pulled out a gun, moving with surprising speed. You were better off blind. At least then you had vision. The gun pointed at Minute Jun, but Amora moved faster, stepping between them. Stop, she shouted. No more violence. No more blood. Can't you see what this life has cost both of you? Move, girl, Kang growled. No. I said move. Uncle, put the gun down. Minute Jun's voice was deadly calm. You shoot her, you shoot me. And you know what happens then. Tai Young is loyal to me, not you. The organization fractures. Everything we built collapses. Better collapsed than corrupted. But Kang's hand wavered. You want to know the truth? Minute Jun continued, pieces falling into place in his mind. The attack 3 years ago. The one that took my sight. It never made sense. My own men turning on me, but only certain ones. The timing. The precision. Kang's face twitched. It was you, Minute Jun breathed. You ordered it. You made me blind. I made you focused. Kang roared. You were going soft even then, talking about legitimate business, about getting out. I needed you dependent, controlled, angry enough to be the weapon this family requires. The betrayal hit Minute Jun like a physical blow. His own uncle. His own blood. You took my sight because I wanted peace. I took your sight so you could truly see what matters. Power, control, fear. And it worked. You became the most ruthless boss in Seoul. Until her. He swung the gun toward Amora. Time slowed. Minute Jun saw the finger tightening on the trigger. Saw Amora's eyes widen. Saw every terrible possibility of a future without her. This woman who'd crashed into his life and broken him open and made him want to be better. He lunged, knocking Amora aside as the gun fired. The bullet grazed his shoulder, pain exploding through his arm. Tai Young and his men burst in, disarming Kang within seconds. Call the police, Minute Jun gasped, Amora's hands already on his wound, applying pressure with professional efficiency. Tell them everything. I'm done protecting family that treats me like a weapon. Boss, if you bring in the police. I know what it means. Investigation. Exposure. Possible charges. I don't care. I'm done with this life. All of it. Amora looked at him with tears streaming down her face, but this time they were different tears. You're really doing this? You asked me who I want to be. I'm choosing. Right now. The next hours were chaos. Police, statements, reporters camped outside. Chairman Kang was arrested for attempted murder and, as Minute Jun provided evidence, a dozen other crimes. The organization crumbled, but Minute Jun didn't care. He was too busy watching Amora, memorizing every expression on her face as she worked tirelessly to care for his injury. 3 months later, Seoul had changed. Or maybe Minute Jun had changed, and Seoul just looked different through new eyes. He stood in the community center he'd funded, watching volunteers distribute food and medical care to families in need. The legitimate portions of his former empire had been restructured into proper businesses and charitable foundations. The illegal parts he turned over to authorities in exchange for immunity as a witness. Boss. The voice made him turn. It was the man from 3 months ago, the one he'd ordered hurt. But now the man was smiling, his daughter beside him, healthy and glowing after her successful surgery. Thank you. Thank you for everything. The job, the surgery fund, Thank my conscience. Minute Jun nodded toward Amora, who was teaching a group of immigrant women about healthcare access. She's the reason any of this exists. When the evening ended, they stood on the rooftop garden Minute Jun had built, overlooking the Seoul skyline. The lights glittered like stars, and for the first time in his life, Minute Jun thought they were beautiful. Your brother got his acceptance letter, he said. Medical school in Lagos. Full scholarship. Amora's head whipped around. How did you? I might be out of the Mafia, but I still have connections. Good ones now. The scholarship is legitimate, from a foundation I established. He earned it with his grades. Tears filled her eyes. Minute Jun, that's too much, I can't. You can. You should. You've spent your whole life saving everyone else. Let someone save you for once. You already did, she whispered. You changed. You really changed. Because you showed me I could. He took her hands, marveling again at the miracle of sight, of seeing her clearly. Stay with me. Not as my nurse. As my partner. In the foundation, in the businesses, in everything. Build this new life with me. That's terrifying, Amora admitted. 3 months ago you were Korea's most dangerous criminal. Now you want to save the world. I want to try. With you. If you'll have me. I spent 2 years running from ghosts, Amora said slowly. From my father's death, from the injustice, from the pain. I thought geography could heal me. But it wasn't about location. It was about purpose. About finding someone who understood that broken things can be fixed, that darkness doesn't last forever, that even monsters can choose to be men. She stepped closer, her hands finding his face. Yes. Yes. Yes, I'll stay. Yes, I'll build this with you. Yes, I'll be your conscience and your partner and probably your biggest pain because I will never let you slide back into old habits. Minute Jun laughed, the sound rusty but genuine. I wouldn't want it any other way. When they kissed, it felt like sight returning all over again. Like the world coming into focus. Like finally seeing clearly. They say love is blind, Amora murmured against his lips. But I think love is what makes us truly see. You're getting philosophical on me now. Someone has to keep you humble. As they stood together, overlooking the city that had brought them together in the most impossible way, neither noticed Taeyang watching from the doorway with a rare smile, or the first real family they were building from the ashes of the old one. Minute Jun had spent 3 years in physical darkness. But he'd been blind much longer than that, trapped in violence and cruelty and the belief that power meant fear. It took one slap from a brave Nigerian nurse to open his eyes in every sense. And now he could finally see the future, bright and terrifying and filled with possibility. A future where his hands built instead of destroyed. Where his power lifted instead of crushed. Where love mattered more than fear. All because someone cared enough to hit him when he needed it most. So what did you think? Could you ever forgive someone like Minute Jun? Do you believe people can really change, or once a criminal always a criminal? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because I love reading your perspectives. And if this story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Afro-Korean romance dramas that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Share this with someone who needs to believe in second chances and the power of love to transform even the darkest hearts. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.